Hi, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Facebook and YouTube Live. My name is Catherine. I am your coach at the DanceFit Hub. So, welcome in. Those of you that recently joined this week, maybe you're like, what's going on? Well, we are celebrating Women's History Month, of course. Last week, we had a special guest, and guess what? Today we have another one. My special guest today is Laura Carey-Blackman, and I'm calling her like the menopause expert, but really, she's like my personal menopause guru. So here she is. Yeah, so welcome in. And so, Laura, a lot of people might not remember you from last time because, of course, we have some new members in here. But for those of you that don't know, she is a holistic nutrition coach since about 2021, I believe, and also an energy medicine practitioner, which is like a lot of words there. But you also teach group fitness, and she has her own business helping women during their menopausal transition. So I'm going to let her talk about what all of that is. So go ahead, Laura.
Oh, thank you as always for having me. And I'm also a member in the DanceFit Hub. So
Mhm.
we just bounce off each other because we are each other's coaches, which we're so grateful for. Now, what I do, I am a holistic nutrition coach. And what that means is that I work on the whole part of you. And the whole part of you just doesn't have to deal with our physical being. It has to deal with our emotional being. It has to deal with our mental being, our spiritual being, and our energetic being. Because when one is out of balance, they're all out of balance.
That
And then, right,
is
you're wondering why things aren't working out because you're doing the right things, something is out of balance. So, one of the things that I love to do is helping women, especially who are going through the menopause transition, whether that's perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopause. I try to help them navigate
Mhm.
all of that because we know our hormones fluctuate like crazy. So that's what I do as a holistic nutrition coach. I look at all those aspects and just knowing that it's just not physical. And that is how my energy medicine practice actually ties into that as well, because energy healing is on multiple levels. So I am a master teacher, Reiki practitioner. I do dowsing. I work with our energetic wheels within our body, our aura. I even work with um, trauma because
Mm.
it is all connected. So when I use different ancient healing modalities in order to help restore balance and continue to help peel layers that will provide healing
Mhm.
for experiences that we had maybe even no idea that was actually impacting us. So my energy medicine practice also helps with that. So I combine all of that together.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. Now, of course, the Dance Fit Hub is mainly for women over 55. But as some of you might remember when we had Laura on last year, we discovered that menopause is one of those things that kind of lingers, right? And that because I did speak to some of my students about it, they're like, oh, well, I'm sure it's going to be a great interview, but I went through menopause a long time ago. And I'm like, oh, so you haven't heard. You can be, experiencing some symptoms even, 60s into your early 70s. Did you know that? And they're like, oh no. And I'm like, yes. So I was so happy that I was able to get you back because, like you said, it's sometimes you're doing all the things, right,
Mhm.
physically, but when something is off, you kind of don't, it's the kind of thing where you don't know what it, and you're like, I can't put my finger on it, but I feel like something is just not right. And so it's not necessarily your fault, to those of you that are like,
Right.
oh, I'm doing everything. It could be just like she said, it's an emotional, like, when you're going through a transformation, it's whole. It's exactly what she said, from head to toe, right? Inside and outside.
Exactly.
Exactly. So that is basically, in a nutshell, what Laura does. So that's what we're going to be kind of talking about today. But Laura, a lot of women in our community say, like I said, I eat well, I'm moving, but this belly won't go away. And I'm targeting the belly because that is like everybody's favorite part, right? No.
Yes.
So why does it feel so hard to lose weight, especially around the belly after menopause?
I'm so glad you asked that question. That question, and you're so right, comes up so much. And it is an aesthetic trouble spot also, but it's also a health trouble spot.
Mhm.
And when this happens where we're doing all the right things and I don't know why, if something happens, it goes to my belly. If I have this thought about food, that piece of cake, it's going to go to my belly. What's actually happening is that we have a hormonal imbalance. And it could be a drop in estrogen that may cause you to actually gain that weight. But
Mhm.
what is actually happening is not only is that drop of estrogen possibly causing you to gain weight, it is also redistributing the fat and it
Mhm.
happens to go to your belly. So that's one possibility as far as why we have the mental belly.
Right.
One of the things that commercialism has like locked their heels and claws into is stress and
Mhm.
how chronic stress adds to belly fat. And even though they have locked in on that as a marketing tool, they are right. So chronic stress adds to our belly fat. So if you're living a lifestyle that really doesn't allow you to decompress, it is going to start showing up post menopause. It'll start showing up perimenopause. It will show up when you have premenopause, and premenopause is our reproductive years.
Yeah.
But our belly has these receptors that are actually in there. And when those receptors are designed in order to get our cortisol, which is our hormone. And
Right.
we know that cortisol is connected right to our stress. So
Mhm.
it so when we're actually stressed, those receptors actually get stimulated. So if you have these receptors that are getting stimulated for the cortisol, now we know how that fat is formed from the cortisol actually being released. So we
Right.
have the estrogen, the drop in estrogen, we have that spike in cortisol, and that spike in cortisol actually leads to a domino effect. When it leads to that domino effect, it can lead to insulin resistance. And what we really want is to be insulin sensitive. But when we're gaining that weight, that insulin resistance actually happens over time, which is why some of us might see all of a sudden we're getting this pouch and we don't know where it came from. It
Mhm.
develops over time. So it can be even a decade. So when you are going through the menopause transition, whether it's perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopause, the cells in our body are actually starting to form like a crust around the cells. And it makes it harder for our body to actually break down what it is that we consume. So that insulin resistance, um, which can also put us in a pre-diabetic state. So it's not just the mental belly that is being affected, it's causing a domino effect for diseases.
Mm. Yeah. Well, and I would imagine that also, which we're going to touch on, but even right before the perimenopause stage, and this is why we're always talking to the women in their 30s, right? Talking to them about health and what their nutrition is, because we know that, like you're mentioning, if all of these things are kind of happening physically inside, if your nutrition is not, on par, then that's already adding to the whole equation. So,
Right.
it's just that I think as women, we're like always like, how did this happen? Like, like it happened overnight or something, right? But we don't sit there and think, well, what was I doing in my 20s when I was in college? Was I actually eating right? Or in my 30s, even after I had kids, like what was going on then? So I think that it's just funny because we're always like, I don't know why this is happening. I don't know why. We're always like, why? But deep down inside, I think we know, like, literally a little bit what's going on.
It'll catch up to you. It'll
Yep,
catch up. Yep.
literally. And I like what you were mentioning too, like the stomach area, the midsection, it does react so quickly to stress. And I know that there are even people when they are extremely stressed, they, have IBS, right? And all of these other things that are related to stress. So, ladies, listen to what she's saying because this is true. And I'm sure some of you are like, oh, yeah, yeah, that's happening. Oh, yes, happened to me, right? So, I know that women don't want to feel like they're on a diet forever because
No.
we're talking about, okay, eating, right? And I always want them to have like a sustainable way to eat. Like, even in all of my programs, it's not dieting, right? It's just kind of figuring out what are the foods that you like, how to portion, and all of those nice fun things.
Mm-hmm.
What are some easy foods that they can eat, or maybe they should be incorporating to help with that belly fat, to help with losing weight, and to not give up all of their favorite things in the process?
Wow. That is another great question. Um, when we actually come across with food, one, we have to just like change our mindset about how we actually approach food.
Mhm.
When we are um, not wanting to give up those favorite things, there's a couple of things that we can do. Have a lateral shift. So when you know that you have to remove something that you really know is not to your benefit, think about what is it that I can replace it with.
Mhm.
One of the easiest things that you can do with before you even replace it, I mean, starting with your mindset, I know this is going to have to go, but I can add some veggies. Increase your amount of veggies. And there are so many options as far as like what you can do with veggies that you can just choose which veggies actually work for you,
Mhm.
which ones that you like. And variety is key. But when you're adding these veggies, they are packed with the essential minerals, the amino acids, the fiber, antioxidants, the veggies that we actually consume, whether it is raw or cooked, it's going to help you prevent illnesses. It's going to help you support your digestive system, and it is going to really help you start boosting your immune system. And when you actually do something like that by adding in more veggies, you're helping to recalibrate your body.
Mhm.
So even though I'm not telling you to eat that vegetable or eat this vegetable, you get to choose. This is where it's personalized. And one of the things that I love to do, like even with my clients in my programs, that we might be working together as a group, but it's personalized
Right.
because everybody's body is different. And
Mhm.
I know it's just the same in your program, even though you're together in a group, it's personalized according to the needs of each person. So for me, for example, I love veggies. I'm a vegan, but I can't eat broccoli and cauliflower. So
Same.
Since I can't eat broccoli and cauliflower, I know those aren't veggies that I'm going to add to my plate.
Right.
So you'll be able to actually have that variety, and they just help with various bodily functions. Your digestion is key because this is like we want to make sure that we are having optimal digestion system working because it's going to just help with so much. It's going to help lower cholesterol levels. It's going to help with um, preventing constipation.
Right. I was just going to say, like, your plumbing system is basically what it
Exactly.
is.
We want to make sure that we actually have BMs. And so many women that I have spoken to in regards to digestion, just alone, think that it's normal to like go maybe 2 or 3 times a week.
Mm. Mm-mm.
It's amazing because like you have to think about that when you eat, the day that you eat, you should be expelling.
Right.
So when we actually add those veggies, it's really simple.
Right.
Just and you don't have to do it all at once. Like, gradually increase. I'm all about the gradual.
Yeah, and even the veggies too, with the bloating, right? And let's say the swelling of the midsection, there are, anti-inflammatory foods too that people should be taking to prevent swelling, not only in that area, but in others as well, especially, in their joints, which is where I hear a lot of people have swelling. So I think what happens is that they don't relate what is going inside their body to what's
Mhm.
happening in there, right? So, like you said, if there's a lack of the, maybe a mix of vegetables, right? Because having too much of one vegetable isn't good either.
That's right.
But, maybe not having that good mix, or maybe like, you cannot have broccoli and cauliflower,
Mm.
right? But maybe they haven't discovered that yet and they don't realize why the bloating is happening. They're like, I'm eating my vegetables. Yes, you are, but it's causing other things to happen. So I think, like you said, it's all about being mindful about what's going in and then how it's coming out. Because that's the plumbing system.
Yep. And to just add to that,
Mhm.
one of the other things that I say often is that we have to be our own detectives.
Yes,
You have to, like, when you are actually consuming any food or any drink, just think about how your body actually reacts to it. Because
exactly.
when you start to pay attention, even doing a food journal, just say, I had this, I had this, I had that. And maybe, maybe 15, 20 minutes, even an hour later, you check in and you write down how you feel because you're not going to remember a week ago.
No.
But if you have something like a food journal, you can actually refer to something like that. So it
And I
would
love that idea because when you go to the doctor, right, and you are like, lately I've been having like a lot of heartburn, and then the first thing they ask you is like, well, what are you eating when you have the heartburn? What did you eat before then? And you're like, I don't know. Like, because who remembers that,
right.
right? So, and this is what I tell my clients too. Like, I know it's a little tedious in the beginning to keep a log, but just do it for like 5 days and see, like, what are you eating? How are you being very gassy after certain foods, or, are you getting hiccups? Hiccups are not good either. Like, what's going on? Are you feeling really heavy and bloated after you eat certain things? So yeah, excellent idea. I'm so glad. That's why we're friends, because we're on the same page on that one.
Yep.
So next we're going to be talking about strength training and bone health, because a lot of ladies were talking about this, and I know for a fact that a lot of ladies in this group are concerned with the O word, osteoporosis. All right.
Mhm.
So we talk about strength being critical. At least I do a lot.
I
Strength
know, I love it.
strength being critical in not only weight loss, but overall health, right? Just protecting your skeletal system from, again, head to toe, right? So, can you explain how lifting weights or working with weights, doing strength training helps with strong bones and with weight loss during and after menopause.
It is so great. And even like when you actually share during your lives,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the importance of strength training. If y'all are not on there, go back to her lives about strength training because they are so on point about the importance of actually doing it. And what Catherine has already even shared within those lives, because I'm usually on there and I'm like, yes, sometimes I'm taking some notes and yes, I'm co-signing, but it's just like the information that she shares is invaluable. But the thing is that when we actually reach a certain age, we aren't absorbing nutrients like we used to. And
Mm-hmm.
that actually cause, and with the hormone fluctuations, in addition to that, it causes us to actually have to experience um, bone loss density. And what we need to do when strength training does this, it stimulates the bone building. And when we actually have these weight bearing exercises, it's going to, trigger our body to actually deposit more calcium. So it's really important that we actually have movement, but that strength training, that is key over cardio. I
Mm-hmm.
know cardio is fun. I love cardio. I love, love, love cardio. But the strength, that is your prescription right there. It
Yeah.
is going to help get the calcium and other minerals that our bones actually need to make them stronger and denser.
Mhm.
So you will not, as much as you might think so, and it doesn't have to do with how big you are or how small you are. If
Mhm.
you are not working on stimulating um, your bone dense, the bone building to make it stronger and denser, you're going to see the increase in fractures. You're going to see the increase of being not the instability in regards to balance. So you have to actually be able to, do the strength training exercises
Mhm.
because it is going to definitely help with preventing osteoporosis, osteopenia, fractures,
Mhm.
falls. It's going to help with so much. So
Oh.
much.
So, and those of you that are listening right now, you're probably, thinking to yourself, oh, strength training, everybody's talking about it because, everywhere you turn on the internet, they do talk about it. They're always saying how older active adults have to be doing strength training and that's going to prevent, bone loss and all these things. So, all I have to say to that, ladies, is if you're hearing it everywhere, there has to be something that's actually true about it, right? I know that the internet is so loud with so much information, especially now because we live in a society that's all about now pushing, like you mentioned before, marketing and using all of these ailments, right? Kind of saying, like, are you suffering from this? Well, then try this, right? But honestly, the most natural thing that you could start doing today, like Laura's saying, is just implementing some of that strength training because that's the pill that nobody wants to take. I'm going to say it right now, right? Nobody wants to do that. They're like, I'm just going to do all the cardio and tire myself out until I can't anymore, right? Or they're going to do all these other classes. But the one thing they don't want to do is lift anything, stretch anything that's going to make you work. And unfortunately, that it is something that everybody needs to do. Even a 20-year-old needs to start doing that. Even a teen needs to do that. Even my son, who is 12, needs to start doing that. Right. So it's something that now has developed and more research has come up to say that we need to start working on this much more.
And there's so many strength training exercises and ways of doing it is fun. You
Right.
don't have to do something that you don't enjoy.
Right.
And Catherine has some great workouts. And the challenges that she has, I try to get into all the, well, I love challenges. Like hers promotes movement. And if I can get a little extra in, I'm there for it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it is, it's mindset, like you said, because for so long, society marketed cardio, right? You want to lose weight, you want to do this, you want to be healthy, cardio, cardio, cardio. So we're literally brainwashed to think that. But
Mhm.
now it's like just reintroducing it to your brain and being like, well, let's try different ways, like you're saying, of incorporating strength training. And maybe it's not that bad, after everything. But are there any everyday foods or habits that
Mhm.
might sneak in and make it harder to lose fat or to keep your bones strong? Maybe things that women might not realize.
Yes. Salad dressings.
Really?
They the companies will sneak in salad dressings, which is why it's so important for you to actually read your labels.
Yes.
Salad dressings, they might tell you on the front of the label, of course, what it doesn't have, but
Mhm.
they know that consumers are looking for a taste. So they have to replace it with something. And what's important, so they bank on consumers not retraining their taste buds.
Exactly.
So it's going to either be high salt, high fat, or high sugar. It might have all three of them in there.
And all disguised in words that we can't even pronounce.
Right. So super important. Salad dressings will definitely get you. And also cooking oils. There
Mhm.
are seed oils, the vegetable oils, the canola oils.
Yeah.
Those will get you to grapeseed used to be one that was really popular because it was marketed as this high heat cooking oil that you can use because everyone was becoming aware of different types of oils you should be using at certain temperatures. But that is another one that where they're sneaking in like saying, oh, get this cooking oil, it'll be great for you, but it turns rancid immediately
Oh,
because of the processing. So between the salad dressings and the oils, they will sneak it in and it will put a halt to your goals.
so what is something that maybe the ladies should be doing then instead of buying these pre-made dressings?
Well, there are some dressings that you can buy, and they'll have a minimal amount of ingredients, but you can make your own. It's really not hard.
Yes, I know that. I know that.
It's not hard. There are, I know, like in my group, I have given some recipes for making salad dressings, and and one of the things is that as we get used to just like cooking back more in our homes, not being overloaded in the kitchen. So
Mhm,
usually my ingredients that I will have will be a minimum. Like, you need maybe 5 ingredients or less, and
mhm.
you can just tailor it to your palate and actually enjoy it. Or just even before you add a salad dressing, you could just see how your food tastes.
Exactly.
Once you actually blend, your veggies and if you what protein that you're going to have in there together and just see how it tastes by itself. Because that's one of the other things we were trained to do. Automatically add something before we even taste it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is so true. And I know, like, for the Latino community, right? We are all into, adding stuff, adding stuff, adding stuff. It's like always adding seasonings. But in reality, it's like you can just use salt and pepper and maybe a little, garlic. The garlic releases nice flavors. And so it's just that we're so trained that way to
Yeah.
cook that way, to eat that way, that we don't really think about the other alternatives. But once you do, like you said, you take the time to taste the salad, mix it up and take and be like, yeah, I kind of already, does taste okay. Maybe it just needs a little of this and a little of that. That's it. Like it doesn't have to be so saturated and soaked in dressing, especially when
Exactly.
you go out to eat. It's like, ugh. forget about it. So yeah, that's definitely something important. And you're right, cooking at home is definitely something great. However, I know of a lot of my single over 55ers, right? Don't like to cook. They don't like to cook anymore. So what happens when you don't like to cook? You
It's almost like, well, when you don't like to cook, there are a couple of things that you can do. They have, I can't even remember the names of those companies that deliver to your
Hello
home.
Fresh,
Yes, yes.
Hungry
Where
Root,
you can actually have ingredients that will work for you where you don't have to worry about the measurements. And it's almost just like putting it together and you're not having as much time in the kitchen.
right?
Or you can have a, chef make your meals if that's something that you want to do, if you're like really adamant about not cooking. And there's nothing wrong also with going out to a restaurant. You just have to be able to ask questions and advocate for yourself. When
Exactly.
I started going through my transition and being aware of what actually worked for me, when I went to the restaurants, like my coworkers, they were like, I am so amazed. You ask a lot of questions. I was like, I have to, because otherwise I'll be sick.
Right. You're not going to want to hang out with me anymore.
So and the thing is that it is okay for you to ask questions about how they cook your food. Don't
Yes,
feel like you're imposing on them, because you are paying them to make your food.
exactly.
So it is okay to ask what is in it, and
Hmm.
ask
And
them to make something that doesn't have what you don't want in it.
yeah, I personally love like scratch kitchens. Not a lot of people know about scratch kitchens. And basically, for those of you that don't, if you're going to a scratch kitchen, they're making everything then and there when you order it. So,
Mhm.
and you're able to also tell them, well, I can we not have this and can I have this instead? Like that's part of the whole process. And they might end up telling you, well, the chef has prepared the dish like this because of the different flavors. But if you already know that you have a sensitivity to something, they're more likely to switch it out,
Mhm.
opposed to a restaurant that you go to, let's say like a chain restaurant. Everything's already been mixed, pre-mixed, pre-marinated, and it's just sitting there waiting to be kind of warmed up and sent your way. So just think about that when you're also, when you're thinking about eating out. Think about the places that you're going. Are they going to be accommodating, to you and be sensitive to what your needs are? And usually that means you have to pay a little bit more, but at least like Laura said, where your food's coming from, what's on it, how it's been cooked, and so on. So, for someone watching this and feeling a little stuck, what's the one thing you tell your clients they can do today to start feeling better, maybe getting stronger or losing weight without feeling overwhelmed? And of course, we're talking about either women that are still in, going through some menopause, or even women that have already gone through it but still are like kind of like not right.
Well, outside of adding the vegetables, this one is doing something fun. It
Hmm.
has nothing to do with your food, but you can just do something fun that is not surrounded by food. That's going to bring you joy, because it's going to help release oxytocin, the oxytocin factor that is going to bring you so much joy. It's going to help you reset your hormones. So
Mm.
when you find that you are not taking time to just like enjoy a certain part of your life, that's when you pause and then you go and do something fun.
Mm.
It can be playing cards, it can be watching one of your favorite movies, it can be roller skating, going for a walk, having a good time with your doing something fun, having hanging out with a friend. So one
Right.
of the things that I do with my clients too is just that I give them a list of ways that they can just have a good time. And it doesn't have to cost you anything at all except your time.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think, as we get older, we kind of forget uh, that there are multiple ways of having fun. And sometimes, we depend on having fun so much like in groups, but there are ways to have fun like on your own as
Yeah,
well, right? And
that's
so I think we forget about that. And like you mentioned so many nice things. And I know even for you, you love to jump rope. And I admire that because I have to I only do jump rope during my training session with my coach. Other than that, I'm like, no, not touching the jump rope. But Laura, for those of you who don't know, she's like on a team. She's doing all these things. I was like, oh my gosh, this girl is doing all these things. So,
That's my fun too. It's the 40 plus double dutch club. So you have to be 40 and over in order to be a part of this club. And we do things that we did in our childhood. So not just like the jumping up the rope, we'll do the hula hoop, we'll do different types of hopscotch, we'll do line dancing.
aw,
It's just like, and the fellowship is there, so you really have such a good time. Even if you decide that, what, I'm not doing anything but hanging out with the club,
right.
you're having a good time.
Yeah, and
So,
that ultimately that's the thing. No matter what your journey is, no matter what's going on, you still need to have like an out, right? You still
yeah,
need to have a way to kind of just have fun and enjoy your life because ultimately that's why we're here.
exactly.
We don't want you to be stuck worrying about menopause and all these things. I mean, of course they are things that we worry about, but we also want you all to have fun. So let me see here. I'm trying to see if there are any comments. I don't see any at the moment because everybody's probably just like taking it all in. But just can you share with everyone the name of your group in case they want to go in there and kind of explore?
Yes, my group is called the Menopause Transition Wellness Hub. So it's also in Facebook. I am, sometimes I do quite a few posts on TikTok as well. And I will be saving, like, I do go live on TikTok also, and I'll save it into my YouTube channel. But you can find me there. Um, and even in if you forget, I'm in the group with y'all.
Yeah, that's it.
So, you can see the members, and then, I comment in there.
About your sister, because now your sister joined you also, right?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So she joined me too, and she is really great with herbs. So she
Mm.
does a segment for us where she talks about herbs as far as how herbs actually can be used in order to help along our perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopausal journey.
Oh,
So really, yeah, we got great information that's in there. So yes, try
yeah.
it.
I'll have to have her next year. She'll be my guest next year for sure. Well, thank you so much, Laura, for agreeing to be on again, once again. And really like just providing so many good nuggets that we can kind of think about and process after the fact. But it's all for all of you that are listening, to it's great to have another perspective, and from where she's coming from, with the menopause kind of topic, right? But we're all basically talking about the same things, right? We're all striving to be healthier and to kind of figure things out along the way,
Mhm.
see what works and what doesn't work for you. It's all trial and error. You cannot go by what, you know, Susie tried, or Pam tried, or whatever. It has to be with you. It starts with you and it ends with you. So just those of you that are watching this now, and those of you that are watching this on the replay, go back, listen to all the things that she said, write them down, right? And think about it. Is this me? Have I experienced this? Has this happened to me? Wow, then I need to start paying attention to those things and take all of her tips, write them down. Because sometimes, it's like parents, right? We tell our kids a million things over and over and over again, right? Then they don't listen. Somebody else comes along, tells them the same thing, and they're like, "Oh, did you know that this, that?" And you're like, "I've only been telling you that for like the last all of the years of your life." You know what I mean? So it's the same thing here. It's listening. And if you're kind of like, wow, this kind of sounds like I've heard this before. Yes, but that's why I bring special guests, because I love the way their take on it, right? And maybe some of the things will kind of sit well with you, and you'll be like, yeah, I get it. I relate to that. So again, thank you so much, Laura, for being here once again. And thank you to all of you who tuned in live. And if you're watching this on the replay, please let me know in the comments. This right now is being streamed into the Facebook group, into the business Facebook page, and also on my YouTube channel. And I believe Laura has also shared it in her group as well. So there's multiple ways of seeing this and putting down your comments, because we want to hear from you, right? That's how we learn as coaches too,
Yeah.
how the information is being absorbed. So thanks to you again, and to everyone else, and have a good night. Bye.